Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sunday night. I used to call this a Conscious Community class. Now it's a Course in Miracles class. So welcome to the modified Conscious Community class, but the Course in Miracles study group. Tonight's topic is I Need Do Nothing. And we're going to build upon what our dear Lily was. Lily, you can shut your mic, please, since yeah, gets any background noise. Our dear Lily was just asking about, she was saying, in the midst of suffering, like of the body or of what she said is her own mind or her own ego, there is the conscious, quiet observer inside. And she's basically asking about the nature of that. So hold that thought as we go into tonight's topic, and I'll be sure to loop through it as we move along. Lily, I'm going to just mute your mic just in case. All right, great. So welcome, everybody. Let me do a quick overview of where we've been, where we're going. If anybody's new to A Course in Miracles or this class, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to share. It is considered a study group, not just a lecture. So you're really welcome to share your knowledge, your wisdom, but definitely to ask questions to make it interactive. So A Course in Miracles is a book, and if you're not really familiar with it, it has a text, a workbook for students, a manual for teachers, and two supplements on, where's the book itself there? Two supplements, which is called The Song of Prayer and also a manual on psychology. Tonight, we're actually going to go into the text with the teaching I Need Do Nothing. So here's where we've been in reviewing the course, an overview, clarification of terms. We've talked about the importance of forgiveness, but what does A Course in Miracles really mean by that? That will be relevant tonight to understand I need do nothing. And the term atonement, which is essentially oneness with your true self, is also relevant to tonight's teaching, as is the Holy Spirit. When you are in that space that Lily was just talking about, the very center, the core of your being, the essence of who you are as spirit, you're not alone in that space. Minds are joined, that we're all one in that space. That's essentially what the atonement is, the experience of that oneness for you, but then eventually, hopefully not hopefully, in the Course in Miracles, it's guaranteed that everyone will eventually experience that oneness. But when you're experiencing that, and especially in relationship, as tonight's lesson goes into, the voice of the Holy Spirit is there. And what is that voice? You could say it's the voice for God. It's the higher, wiser mind within you. It's a voice that always knows what's true and real and certain. It's a voice you can always trust. And we experience it in that state of at one-ment with who we truly are. So atonement isn't like atoning for your sins that you were bad and now you have to try to make up for that somehow. The lesson we'll go into tonight of I need do nothing is really an escape. It's really an instant escape from time and space. And that's what Lily was talking about, acknowledging she's consciousness, she's the soul, and yet there's a body and apparently this egoic mind. But in what's called the holy instant, which only can happen now, you're able to shift from body level identification to spirit level identification. The answers you might be looking for what do I do with my life? What is my purpose? Who am I? Why am I here? Where's the meaning to this life experience? Those answers are found in communion with that voice called the Holy Spirit. So yes, this is somewhat of a Christian theology on the surface, but it's so highly refined that even tonight, when we look at the text, it's going to use the word sin. But essentially, it's not you might say, the older, more archaic model of Christianity. So when we use these terms, definitely keep an open mind to what does it mean by sin? What does it mean by the body? What does it mean by atonement? But essentially, the movement tonight will be into what's called the holy instant and into a beautiful place of peace where you just don't have to do anything. So we'll get into that. And then we've talked about miracles and revelation. Miracles essentially are shifts in your mind that release you from what's false and bring you back into what's true. Yet when you do that and go back into what's true, you align with what's called the atonement principle, where you're back into that state of oneness and your true nature is love and you're meant to extend love. Miracles are extensions of love and they're always interpersonal. And in tonight's teaching on I Need Do Nothing, it really goes into the beautiful nature of A Course in Miracles that isn't about intense spiritual discipline. It's about the holiness, the sacredness of relationships. And remember, miracles are always interpersonal. They involve some kind of shift in the mind, that restores more wholeness both to the giver and the receiver. So just a quick overview to get into the flow of things. Revelation is you're in that state of atonement, when you're not in a state of fear, but you're in a state of love. Truth can be revealed to you. Your ego mind is incapable of knowing truth. You, as spirit, are truth. And there's really not a sense of revelation when you're there because nothing was withheld from you. This is where I need do nothing really says you get to rest in the most perfect peace, and everything you need to know is within the container, if you will, of your own consciousness, of your own soul. The sonship implies that God or source has a creation and we are one with that creation. We are that creation. You are the creation of God. You are the child of God or the sonship. Yet when you feel separate from another person or other people or separate from your source apparently or from anything, the idea that you are separate from the sonship is really where all the suffering comes from. And of course, it's where the antagonism, the grievances, and the vengeance come from, the anger towards others, because we think we're fighting with others and fighting for means with others. And it's so much based on believing we're a body. Tonight's teaching goes into shifting from body level identification to spirit level identification and really reuniting yourself, which is where you always are, with the sonship, which is the collective oneness of all of us. Yet you can't enter into that when you're afraid or angry or holding grievances. So the theme tonight of I need do nothing is actually learning to let go and to surrender to what's called the holy instant. So we'll dive into that. The shift from spirit to ego is essentially saying you have a mind and your mind can think wrong thoughts. You can think, I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough. But a main component of what the ego is saying, which is relevant to tonight's teaching, is it's saying you're a body. It doesn't know who you truly are. The ego is a masquerading self. It's a false self. It tries to tell you who you are or to ask who you are and try to give the answer, but it's not capable of giving the answer. When we talk about atonement and the sonship and the Holy Spirit, your oneness with Source, your oneness with God, with love, the answer of who you are is right there. So it might seem like a choice. Oh, I could choose this insane mind that is fear-based, or I could choose a mind that thinks the thoughts I think with my Source, which always leads to peace and love. It's really not a choice at some point because you realize, why would I choose an insane mind? Fear and love, we talked about. Ego is what makes, the key word here is makes fear. Spirit is love. Yet spirit creates. You are spirit. You are meant to extend the kingdom, which is basically extending loving thoughts. That puts us into a spirit of giving because spirit knows it's not lacking anything. Where the ego is a mind of scarcity, spirit just knows I'm perfect, whole, and complete, which is again leading us into tonight's teaching in number 13. I need do nothing. And then number 12, inner peace. Inner peace is the inevitable result of this work. We talk about love and we talk about relationships and we talk about oneness with God. Yet a huge part of this is just a profound peace that's always inside of you. So Lily was asking before about having found this quiet center of consciousness, but saying that the ego is still suffering. And I was like, well, that is essentially what the course is calling your salvation, right? So when we before we started recording, I was talking about as Lily's uh, working through a health healing process right now. It reminded me of the life of the Buddha. When the Buddha, who lived into his 80s, was getting quite old, he had pain in his body. And he said the only way, and this was, Buddha, the only way to be free of that pain wasn't to get rid of the body, because you can't get rid of the body, and they didn't have the medicines and whatnot back then. He said the only way to be free of that was to go into deep meditation. So in the I Need Do Nothing teaching tonight, the course is actually asking us to shift from body level identification, and that's again kind of the house, like the place of the ego, to shift into spirit level identification in what's called the holy instant, where there's not only no pain and suffering, there's no body. And that's pretty deep, so stick with me. But the course is clearly saying, and there are deep meditative teachings that support this, my own experience definitely supports this, an experience what the Zen Buddhists call body and mind dropping away. That's experienced in a state in yogic practice called samadhi. And samadhi essentially is atonement. It's oneness with source. And while you can practice through years and years and years intense meditative disciplines, the section of the course we're going to tonight says that's not quite our way. You can do it, and because of your intention, you'll get the result you're looking for. But the course in this section that we're going to look at talks about the importance of relationships when two people join together to find peace within a holy relationship. So yes, the course mentions meditation, but it's primarily about healing relationships, which what our miracles are all about. So anyway, we'll go into that. So the teaching is I need do nothing. So give me just a sec. Just checking the chat pod. Welcome everybody who's joining in. Elena said, I presently read a book, Loving What Is by Byron Katie, and it addresses the same techniques to correct the faulty thinking and obtain inner peace. I also found a lot of questioning we use during hypnotherapy. Beautiful. Okay, and then there's a question for you there, Elena. Let me just do a moment of screen share with our website because I'm going to show you where some resources are. By the way, our next class for the hypnotherapy training starts tomorrow, July 28th. It's only an online class, so there's seats available if anybody's interested. But here in free resources on our website, instituteofhypnotherapy.com, if you go down to Meditations with Matthew, this is all free stuff. So this morning we graduated a group, and the very final meditation guides people into very deep hypnosis, very deep meditation, and then encourages the out-of-body experience. And one of our students was saying, I was just like in pure void. She's like, what was that? It's essentially what Lily was saying before, right? I'm in this place of pure clarity. The meditation, so there's finding profound peace, peace, quiet, and calm. It's probably worth checking out. But this one is the meditation I do on Sunday mornings, the very last meditation in our hypnotherapy schools, training ultra deep hypnosis, which essentially is the state of somnambulism. Then ultra deep meditation, which goes deeper than hypnosis, which is the state known as samadhi. And then that leads to out of body travel. You don't necessarily have to leave your body, but I do want to emphasize tonight a state that occurs that the Course talks about where body and mind drop away. They're not in your awareness. That might be a temporary experience, but what the Course is saying is once you've had that experience, you'll never see the body the same again. Okay, so I highly recommend checking out Ultra Deep Hypnosis, Meditation, Out of Body Travel. A thing that's convinced me, maybe more than anything, that I am spirit is actually an out-of-body experience. I've had many, many of them. I've been teaching out-of-body travel since my early 20s, and it's a real experience. So I want you to get this tonight beyond just an intellectual discussion. Okay, so that's a little orientation of things. And the page we're on is page 388. So welcome everybody who's joining in. 388, I need do nothing. So we're going to spend the whole time just in this. I'll read to you a bit, but I warmly invite you to open to discussion or questions on this. The first paragraph in 388, which is chapter 18, the passing of the dream, I need do nothing. It says, you still have too much faith in the body as a source of strength. What plans do you make that do not involve its comfort or protection or enjoyment in some way? This makes the body an end and not a means in your interpretation. And this always means you still find sin attractive. So remember, the Course is using these words, but here, in a sense, the word sin goes down to what's at the bottom of this paragraph, pain and destruction, right? Really, in A Course in Miracles, there is no inherent sin because God didn't create it. But sin you could consider an error of the ego who thinks you're the body and then tries to dedicate your whole life to how essentially to bring comfort and means to the body. You essentially, in that sense, make the body your God, right? It becomes more important than God. Right? What's the first commandment? Thou shalt have no false gods before me. This is saying you've given so much attention to your body, everything's about your body, and then you, who think are a body, can be attacked or can lack or can suffer. The trying to find salvation outside of yourself or through action, the Course is saying will never work. Like we just talked about in our class this morning, people going off to meditative retreats. And I'm like, yeah, go meditate, but you can go to your bedroom and meditate. Like all you need to do is do nothing, right? So when you're like, all right, I got to go somewhere to find truth, all you're doing is saying, I am a body and I'm going to take my body somewhere to find truth. This is saying, no, do nothing. Literally do nothing. There's a state in Zen, just to reference this, a meditative practice, if you will. So in Zen, Zazen is the primary practice, and I mean sitting Zen, and it's basically assuming a meditative position, usually some form of lotus pose. But however you sit is fine. You can sit in a straight back chair. When you're just sitting, usually in Zen, you start with counting your breaths. Eventually, you might count up your other breath. It's very, very simple. But when you get to the place where you don't even have to count your breaths, your mind is quiet. You're just breathing in, breathing out. Eventually, when it's just, I'm just sitting here, breathing in, breathing out. Eventually, it moves into a state that you can actually make a practice called shikantaza. Shikantaza could be translated as just sitting. And in Buddhism, in Zen specifically, they say when you're just sitting, that is enlightenment. You are Buddha. That's the Zen way of saying you need do nothing. So Zen is one of the most refined versions of Buddhism, and they basically came to the conclusion all you have to do is sit still. So that is true in A Course in Miracles. It does encourage that, but it's also going to encourage in this section that you do that with someone else. So if you have the opportunity to meditate with another person, to sit and do nothing, and to find peace between the two of you. That's what the Course is encouraging, the sacredness of relationships as a means for the path. And even in Buddhism and Zen, we seldom just sit alone. You're with the Sangha, the community of practitioners. And there's a peace and a harmony amongst people who literally just sit and do nothing. When I was living in different Zen centers and monasteries, I remember the concept coming up. Why would somebody who's healthy, well educated, usually, doing really well in their life, why would they just sit and stare at a wall for 10 hours? Why would a Zen monk just sit there and do nothing for 10 hours? Right? That's the teaching. Practice doing nothing. So the Course teaches, or it's actually in the Bible, right? Be still and know that I am God. The Course teaches, peace be to me, the Holy Son of God, peace be to my brother who is one with me. And again, these are masculine terms, but peace be to me, the child of God, and peace be to my brother, my sister, the other person who is one with me. So keep that in mind that it's not that you're sitting alone. The Course is intimately connected to this idea of atonement, where you are one with all beings, which is where you are now. And the first step, essentially, in meditative disciplines is bring your body to stillness. So a lot of the class at night, we do take some meditation time. So I hope perhaps you'll close your eyes at times with this and just be with some of these. Let's do it for a moment. You can just close your eyes. Let's be with the idea of, I need do nothing. But now, if you think you're a body, if you want to achieve something, you have to do something. I think about I'm sitting here now with eyes closed. I'm working towards spiritual realization, towards attainment, towards enlightenment. So do I have to go to India? Do I have to go to China or Japan? That would be taking your body somewhere. Bring your body to stillness, and let's just simply think the thought. I need do nothing. But now I invite you to bring this thought into your mind. I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. So who is that you as you're sitting here with eyes closed? Be still and know the divine. The Course teaches, peace be to me, the holy child of God. Peace be to all others who are one with me. Go deeper. I am still as God created me. Who is that stillness? It's not really your body. Keep going deeper to observe your own thoughts. You don't have to do any meditative discipline. Just let your mind affirm, I need do nothing. But see if you can find the observer of your thoughts. The Course teaches, I am as God created me. That's not your body. So you might affirm again, I'm not a body. But listen to your mind saying these thoughts. I am still as God created me. I need do nothing. Again, in Zen practice, it's called shikantaza, just sitting. Keep surrendering and letting everything else go. And you keep withdrawing your attention deeper into the core of your being, back behind your own mind. So you're finding the observer of your own mind. And then you might affirm, peace be to my mind, let my thoughts be still. You brought the body to stillness. Now bring the mind to stillness. Peace be to me, the holy child of God. But remember, you're not alone, and whatever you want, give it away. Peace be to my brother, to my sister, to all others who are one with me. You might do that here with this group that's gathered together. You're choosing peace. You're choosing the atonement for yourself. All you have to do is shift from body level identification to spirit level identification. Remember we talked about in the past classes? To be in the kingdom of heaven, to be in the presence of the divine, you merely need to put your attention on it. So you're putting your attention on you, not your body, not your emotions, not your mind. You're letting all of that go or forgiving it. You're letting it just be, and you're putting your attention on the quiet center of your own consciousness. Yet you do have a mind, so again, practice affirming. I need do nothing. You keep pulling back deeper into your own consciousness. Peace be to my mind. Let my thoughts be still. Again, you're moving from body level identification to spirit level identification. I'm not a body. I am free. For I am still as God created me. And again, maybe affirm in your mind, I am still as God created me. I need do nothing. All right, you're welcome to keep your eyes open or closed. Hope that helped everybody get a little more centered there if you needed it. So listen to this paragraph again. You have too much faith in the body as a source of strength. What plans do you make that do not involve its comfort or protection or enjoyment in some way? This makes the body an end and not a means in your interpretation. And this always means you will find sin attractive, meaning actions with the body that simply can be what the Course in Miracles calls useless journeys. No one accepts atonement for himself who still accepts sin, or let's just say external action, as his goal. The Course teaches all illness is some form of external searching. So doing something with the body can be what the Course in Miracles calls a useless journey, but it also says consciously selected miracles can be misguided. So even when you say, but I'm going to use my body in a good way, if you're the one motivating your actions, not only are you doing instead of I need do nothing, who's moving your body? For what reason? You might say your ego, your individual sense of self is what's choosing your actions. When you go to I need do nothing and you bring everything to stillness, you can hear the voice for God, your intuition, your divine intelligence, that which is offering revelation, insight, wisdom. From there, we act. So the Course teaches that spirit doesn't inspire action, it inspires thought. So when you say, God, what do I do? Right? You're struggling with a life challenge. If you say, what do I do? You're actually saying, I'm a body, and God, you need to tell me what to do with my body. The Course is saying that's not the right approach to going to spirit. So first, remember in A Course in Miracles, there's two levels, and one level doesn't really even exist. There's the bodily level, the world of illusion, the world of time and space. Then there's the level, which is the only real reality, of God, of truth, of love, of peace, of bliss, of spirit. So simply, body or spirit. When you identify with the body, then you approach the divine as if you're a body. You approach your life as if you're a body, but God doesn't inspire action, God inspires thought. So when you do nothing and you just get still and go into that profound peace, anything you need to know will be there. So here's a good affirmation I gave to our graduating class today. I now know whatever I need to know whenever I need to know it. I now know whatever I need to know whenever I need to know it. Remember, all illness is some form of external searching. Peace is health. And how do you find peace? You practice being still, not being busy, not going anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere to find the answers you're looking for because you're not looking for action. You're not looking for the divine to inspire action. You're moving into that deep meditative space. And again, encouraged with others, which you'll see in the text here. In that deep space of peace, whatever you need to know is right there. Remember, we talked about revelation, which is a temporary moment. And this is going to go into a temporary moment where you're not experiencing the body. It's called the holy instant. Revelation is a temporary experience when the fear and doubt are not there. So whenever you're afraid, whenever you're stressed, the teaching is literally do nothing. Bring the body to stillness, and then you could affirm, which is pure Course in Miracles, peace be to my mind, let my thoughts be still, and all the other lessons that will help to orient you to spirit. Then remember, spirit doesn't inspire action, spirit inspires thought. From there, action will happen, but the action is guided by spirit. When you think your body and you're living from your ego, you've got a false, personal, insane self running your life. And the Course uses strong terms like sin and pain and destruction, but that is where all that comes from. But again, even if you're trying to do good actions from the ego, and we talked about this recently with the idea of spiritual ego, even if you think I'm going to do good actions, I'm going to go help the homeless, I'm going to go build hospitals, I'm going to go heal people. If it's your ego doing that, remember, consciously selected miracles can be misguided. So you're not looking to be really bad, obviously, or even really good. We're working to go beyond that duality. We're moving into the truth of who you are, pulling way your consciousness way back. In that pure, quiet space is the voice of the Holy Spirit. You'll know whatever you need to know whenever you need to know it. But again, we're usually looking for love in all the wrong places. We're doing this form of external searching. We're going on useless journeys. And we keep thinking it's about what do I need to do? Not realizing, no, you need do nothing, especially when you are confused. What did Jiddu Krishnamurti? He said, all decision is the sign of a confused mind. You think there's a whole lot of choices when you're confused, but when you're in deep meditation, you're not choosing anything that has to do with time and space anyway here. So let's go to the text, which will start taking us deeper into that. Atonement is not welcomed by those who prefer pain and destruction. Okay, so if you're interested in the external, especially, the negativity of the external, you're very far from it. But again, even a positive life isn't what this is encouraging. All beauty and goodness will come through, but not the way we might think. Okay, so obviously we're not into pain and destruction. It says, there's one thing that you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. That is a real meditative state. It's a state known as samadhi. It's when body and mind drop away. And as you'll see in the Course, it happens in what's called the holy instant. And the meditation I showed you at the beginning of this will really help to guide you into that space, as do most of I think all of my books and teachings are meant to guide us into that space. It has perhaps, so the body has perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. In yogic practice, there are four states of consciousness we're talking about in class this morning as well. The first is your regular waking consciousness, beta brainwave activity, usually. You're aware of the external world, right? We all know it. We're living with our attention. The light of our awareness is focused outwards. Regular waking consciousness, just engaged with the world. Everybody knows that. The second state is your deep sleep state. right? We all know that. But that's not when body and mind truly drop away from your awareness because you're essentially unconscious. Right? I mean, your soul is always conscious, but you're not aware of the depths of your being in deep sleep. So you don't find God in deep sleep. The third state is the dream state. So in the states of consciousness, beta waking consciousness is your everyday waking consciousness. Then the dream state, you could say, is the second one, is basically theta brainwave activity, right? Where you're aware of dreams. But those dreams are relatively meaningless in A Course in Miracles. It's not what we're looking for here. So the second state of deep theta brainwave activity, or just the dream state, is not what we're looking for. And then there's delta, deep contentless sleep. None of those are the answer. So waking consciousness, dream consciousness, sleep consciousness are not what you're looking for. And think about, what other state do you know? In Sanskrit, the fourth state is called Turiya, Turiya. Turiya literally means the fourth state, the fourth state of consciousness that usually only advanced yogis and meditators tap into. But the Course is giving us a different approach to how to get there, which is really unique. I mean, I think you can tell I've studied a lot of this stuff, and I don't know of a path that's so intimately rooted in relationships as opposed to just spiritual disciplines. So the fourth state of Turiya is the state of samadhi, or oneness with source, or essentially the experience of the atonement. Okay, so realize you're not going to find it through actions. You don't find it through daily activities. You don't find it in sleep. You don't find it in dreams. Christy said, hello, Christy said, what are your experience of holy instances that seem to happen spontaneously? Would circumstantial elements potentially create necessity for this type of state to exist? Circumstances have nothing to do with it. The state exists. Good question. The state exists all the time. You're not looking for circumstances to initiate it because you're the one who created those circumstances. A Course in Miracles is basically saying you can't totally surrender to the external world because you're the one who's making it up. But because you're the one making up the external circumstances, if you notice you're suffering or you're not truly at peace, then you have the opportunity for the holy instant. The holy instant doesn't happen necessarily spontaneously, as if it's not happening of your own volition, your own free will. So you choose for that to happen. And essentially, it's when you forgive. So something's happening, something's upsetting you, or whatever it is, you're just not at peace, right? And that could be you were just driving and you were stressed and frustrated and you get home. It's not the circumstances that really have anything to do with it. It's your choice. It's your willingness. When you stop and be still and say, I'm going to forgive, which another way of saying that is not like I forgive my dad for, it's I'm going to let all that go. Nothing in the external world, the circumstances don't matter. But if I'm suffering, I'm not waiting for something like spontaneously happen to shift me into it. I'm making the choice to be still and to go home. All right. That's very much a Course in Miracles lesson. I will be still an instant. That's actually the exact lesson. I will be still an instant and go home. That's a choice that is completely transcendent to circumstances, but it's usually these negative circumstances that get us there. So I don't know if Christy, and feel free to speak if you like, if that helped to give clarity that it's really the holy instant has nothing to do with the external world, but you can definitely feel motivated by, I don't like what's going on here, to choose the experience of the holy instant.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I just, with my children especially,
Yeah.
um, it seems like I am more able to, and it seems spontaneous, but once you explained it, I see what you're saying. It's because I see their suffering and that is directly felt. So I try to open up and just breathe and let love and light come into me. And so that's what that is. Thank you so
There
much.
you go. You got it, beautiful. And thank you for sharing. And thanks for making it a bit more specifically personal to, what it means to be in a human situation, right? You're a parent, you're with your kids, that can get stressful and challenging. And in the middle of, action with people, okay, it might be challenging, but hopefully you always have time to yourself, right? And when you stop and be still and realize that was upsetting, that was challenging, maybe I could have said something better. That's where the word forgive comes in A Course in Miracles. And all forgiveness is really self-forgiveness. It's just a willingness to look at, okay, I'm brought the body to stillness. The mind, like the momentum of a car that's still moving, it's still going, right? Forgiveness is I'm willing to let all of those thoughts go. I'm going to pull back deeper into the peace and love of my own consciousness. And like you said, I'm going to let the light in. The course is all about invitation, not necessarily tons of long-term meditation. It's about basically saying, in whatever you call it, but I mean, say, Holy Spirit, I'm not at peace. I want to be at peace. I'm willing to choose again. I'm asking for the light to come in. The light never declines the invitation. You might not experience it right away because purification is necessary first, as the Course in Miracles says. And the more you just are willing to forgive, which means let it all go. It doesn't matter what you're thinking. Don't try to figure it out and sort it out. If we can get through this whole section tonight, you'll hear where it's saying like, don't, excuse me if you can see it. Now I can find that exact line, but it's basically saying, don't try to sort out your stuff. You need do nothing, right? When we say forgive, we don't look at the contents of the illusion. We just completely dismiss the illusion, right? I'm upset because of, it doesn't matter what the because of is. Forgiveness basically says, that's just your ego mind anyway. Let it go and move into spirit. That's the holy instant. So you pull back. It's like you're putting your eyes on God and you're saying, come on into my awareness. And really, and you're doing it in relationship to other people. Right now, your children might not stop and sit and meditate with you, but they're in your awareness. And remember, miracles are interpersonal and miracles are extensions of love. She's like, what do I do about my kids? Well, number one, bring your body to stillness when you can. Stop and do nothing. Let all the dust of your mind settle. Go into spirit. From that place, the answer is always there about what to do. But remember, spirit's not inspiring action. It's not going to necessarily say you need to go give him a big hug or something. In that deep space, you'll realize what's the truth? I am love. I wasn't parenting from love, I was parenting from fear and anger. Now I'm in a space of love. What would love do? Oh, love would just give them a big, beautiful hug in the morning from a place of pure forgiveness. That would be far more healing than reprimanding and holding the thoughts of the next day and whatnot. So yeah, it's not the external circumstances. It's just when you stop and embrace the holy instant, the divine mind is right there, inspiring the right thoughts, which will inspire the right actions. And again, a miracle is intimately rooted in forgiveness. So it's saying, I'm going to let go of what I was doing. I'm going to shift. A miracle is a shift into higher level awareness where you end up extending love to others. That always heals. Remember, in A Course in Miracles, the only problem is separation. And the only solution is oneness or atonement. I need do nothing says the principle of the atonement is already there. All you need to do is surrender to it. The solution to your problem has already been created and your problem has already been solved, right? So it's not that we have to be out there trying to fix the world. We need to get the deep sense of oneness with source where the solution is the state of oneness. The Course teaches the only responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for him herself. Your only responsibility is to accept the atonement for yourself. And how do you do that? You do nothing. However, we do have to learn how to let go or forgive and shift back into spirit. Remember, to be in the kingdom is to put your attention on the kingdom. And what is the kingdom? You are. Like tag, you're it. Right? It's like an eyeball trying to see itself. Right? And if you're always looking for yourself out there, you never find you. What they say in Christian mysticism is you turn the light around. Instead of the light of your consciousness going out and trying to fix the world, stop, be still, do nothing. Pull deep within, find that which is not a body, and hold your attention there. And I'll keep working to guide you into that tonight. Thanks, Christy. So there's one thing that you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. It has perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. You are not asked to let this happen for more than an instant. Yet it is in this instant that the miracle of atonement happens. When you shift from body level identification to spirit level identification, and for a moment you forget the body. In the meditation, I would encourage you to listen to on YouTube that we do on the Sunday morning at the last day of our school's training. We use hypnosis to bring people into a deep meditative state because not everybody's an advanced meditator, but with hypnotic suggestion, somebody who knows what they're doing can guide you there. So in deep somnambulism, deep hypnosis, we could achieve profound relaxation, which is always great for body and mind, but we could also achieve profound anesthesia where we don't feel any pain. You can shut off pain in the body, but we also go into profound amnesia. where you forget everything of the external world. And then so like I said this morning, think about Mars. Everybody think about Mars. Now, I guarantee you within a few minutes, you have completely forgotten about Mars. You can do that to your body. You have to start practicing doing that to all the other things in the world, right? So you were worried about your car. Forget about it for now, right? I mentioned it, you thought about it, but you're going to forget about it in a few minutes. You only realize you forgot about it if you think about it again, right? You can forget everything. The course teaches we forget so as to remember better. We forget so we can remember better. So, what are you forgetting? Time and space. And what's giving you the whole perception of time and space? Essentially, your body. The only way to truly experience the absolute is you have to completely transcend the relative. You can't be aware of time and space, which includes your body. Again, that meditation I'm offering for free on YouTube now that we use in the schools training is really will guide you deep into that space. And we're using hypnosis to again bring the body to stillness, to complete comfort, and to actually forget everything. Also in hypnosis, we can do what are called negative hallucinations. So in a deep hypnosis, we could say, when you open your eyes, you will not see the big hand on the clock. And then literally they open their eyes and all they can see is a little hand on the clock. And you say, what time is it? They're like, five something. I don't know. They literally don't see that. If your mind can hallucinate away one thing, why can't you hallucinate away everything? That might seem scary, and it is for some people at first, right? It's like, oh my God, but who am I? When you haven't had a body experience and you realize you're not on the body, sometimes the initial response is fear because you're like, where am I? Who am I? I don't see my body. You are not a body. That's the essence of the teaching here. Okay. So it's saying the body can disappear, even if just for an instant. Afterwards, you will see the body again, but never quite the same. And every instant that you spend without awareness of it gives you a different view of it when you return. So this doesn't just mean out of body experience, because there's traps in that too, and there's a lot of deep teachings there. We're talking more of a meditative state where it's not like I have to leave my body. It's you turn your attention back in so deeply that you're focused in and up, and eventually this will just drop away and you'll forget about it. Once you find that quiet center, that becomes the object of meditation. You're not meditating in candle flames or mantras or anything external. It's always pulling the attention back to the knower, to the observer, to the quiet witness, or what we call, at least in yogic traditions, I believe it's called the seat of the soul. All right, like where are you, the final recipient of all information coming in? It's only in that space that samadhi occurs, that body and mind can drop away. So it says, at no single instant does the body exist at all. Take that in for a moment. The body doesn't actually exist. So when everybody, and we've had this in the beginning classes, nobody said it recently, we talk about God creating the world that you see. The Course says God didn't create the world you see. God creates perfect, in A Course in Miracles, God creates perfect and eternal realities. Nothing you see with your bodily eyes is perfect and eternal, but you are perfect and eternal. So the question is, who are you? Are you a body or are you spirit? Are you a spiritual being having a human experience or a human being having a spiritual experience, right? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. But remember, that experience in A Course in Miracles is a mirage. It's an illusion. It's not really happening. And it's only in that deep meditative state where you don't have awareness of the body that you actually realize someone who's not incarnate is like, there is no body. In the Course in Miracles, only the creations of light are real. All right, we'll let someone in the room there. Okay, so with that said, at no single instant does the body exist at all, because the world that we perceive with our eyes doesn't exist at all. The Course teaches that all perception is of the ego and it's wrong. All perception is wrong. When you perceive a body, you're actually misperceiving, in a sense, who you truly are. So the ego perceives, spirit knows. That's why you need do nothing, tonight's teaching, because when you go back into that quiet consciousness, you know. You don't perceive, you're not thinking, you're not planning, you're not thinking of what to do with your body. There's just perfect certainty in that space. There's absolute peace in that space. From there, the right actions will come about. And the Course actually says to deny the body is an improper use of denial. So you're not actually saying it doesn't exist, because if you're going to fight with something that doesn't exist and say it doesn't exist, you're already affirming its existence. So don't deny that the body exists. Put your attention on spirit. Remember, the only responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for him, herself. And accepting the atonement means I'm going to be still an instant and go back home. I'm not a body. The Course speaks about you who are a prisoner to the body, but you don't have to be. It's all about really separating the valueless from the valuable. It's a sorting out process the Course takes you through. The world and the body are not valuable. There's nothing out there worth truly finding. What's valuable is you as soul. And you say, but what about my kids? They are soul, they are spirit, right? And that's the place you connect with them. And we'll see that here, that it's in the holy relationship, in the holy instant, that salvation occurs, that peace occurs for all minds. Everyone's affected when that occurs, but specifically, you and the people you're finding oneness with is where that peace is found. Okay, so that's pretty deep. And no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced just now. So as you're making this class somewhat of a meditation too, time and space, or the idea of past and future, only exist in your mind. They don't really exist. So the holy instant can only be experienced in the now. The Course teaches that of past, present, and future. Only now is the closest approximation to eternity that you can grasp. But it's not just the word now, which still implies time and space. It's the word always. God is always there and has nothing to do with time and space. Okay, so don't look for it in the past or the future or externally. The closest approximation to it is in the now. But even the now drops away when you're in the holy instant, the eternal presence of the divine that's always there. It says only past and future make it seem real. So once again, talking about the body, it's always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced just now. What the Buddha found was he would do this transcendent movement that I'm talking about, and I'm very intentionally encouraging this more yogic model of transcendence. The Buddha did that. But then when he kind of came back to the body, he kept realizing there is a problem here called the body. He actually took his attention into the now in what's called deep insightful meditation, or in Buddhism, prajnaparamita, the deep heart of transcendental wisdom. But it wasn't a transcending up and out. It was a deep looking into the essence of the body. And what Buddha found is there's nothing actually there. It's what's called shunya, or empty. It seems like there's something there. So look at any physical object, right? And if you take a scanning electron microscope and you go into, okay, well, this is skin. Well, what's that made of? Cells. Okay, well, what's that made of? Let's jump to like organelles. Okay, what are they made of? Molecules. What are they made of? Atoms. What are they made of? Subatomic particles. Okay, what are those made of? What? Empty space, vibrating strings, nothing. Essentially, we don't even know. But basically, when you get down to the essence of what's in the core of all this stuff, there's nothing actually there. My major in college as a religion philosophy major was studying quantum physics, quantum mechanics in relationship to Eastern mysticism. And I entitled my main paper, They Found God's Hiding Place. Scientists found it by looking at the core of an electron microscope, and you're like, oh, there's nothing actually there. And if you go into deep meditation, you can do the experiment within yourself. So the Buddha actually did it by looking deep into his body as well and realized this is a complete fiction, in the sense that it's empty of a separate self. Okay, so anyway, it says it can only, so at no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced just now. Only its past and future make it seem real. Time controls it entirely, for sin is never wholly in the present. And again, just consider sin as like destructive thoughts and action. But they're all just really errors. In any single instant, the attraction of guilt would be experienced as pain and nothing else, and would be avoided. It is no attraction now. Its whole attraction is imaginary and therefore must be thought of in the past or in the future. So, simply stated, when you're in this idea of guilt and action and grievance, and you're invested in this world through the body, the Course is just seeing you're like on a path of destruction. Remember, um, all illness is external searching. It's actually misusing the body, acting in ways that aren't helpful, is what it's talking about here. So again, be still. I need do nothing. Bring the body to stillness and stop. You stop creating karma when you do this, by the way. Every time you stop and do nothing, when your ego is like, but I want to hurt him, I want to attack him, I want to call him, I want to get on the phone and be vengeful. This is saying, no, don't do that. Do nothing. And watch how your mind keeps saying that, but you keep letting all those thoughts go. I'm not going to keep engaging in that. That's what I was talking about here, essentially. It is impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation, unless just for an instant you are willing to see no past or future. So, how do you see no past or future? Put your attention totally in the now. Whenever you meditate, we tend to pick an external object of consciousness that's here now. Like, let's say it's a candle flame. Whenever your mind wanders to the past, come back to the candle flame. But don't wait to do that now. Essentially, the speaker, like my voice, this class, is the object of fixation. You keep putting all your attention on the here and now. Once you can hold it totally here and now, then essentially practice doing nothing. Close your eyes and just let your consciousness float back in the holy instant, in the now. Okay, so meditation can absolutely help to get out of this whole past and future illusion. It's impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation unless, just for an instant, you are willing to see no past or future. Remember, only you're making that up in your mind. When you say, I got to get out of the past, you're only getting out of thinking about the past. It doesn't actually exist. And you're like, but I got to stop thinking about I got to worry about the future. There is no future. It's just something you made up in your mind. In a meditator's mind, where it's empty and clear, there is only now. There is only the holy instant. You cannot prepare, so it says, you cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Release is given you the instant you desire it. So again, it's not like as Christy was alluding to, like some external circumstance, something happens spontaneously. It's an internal choice that you desire something more than this external world. Many have spent a lifetime in preparation and have indeed achieved their instance of success. This course does not attempt to teach more than they learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. You may be attempting to follow a very long road to the goal you have accepted. It is extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. So let's stop there for a moment. What I believe it's referring to are all the spiritual disciplines that have been created by so many teachers and spiritual paths, right? And they'll work. They do work. They're all paths to the top of the mountain. But the course is essentially saying it could be years and so much effort that you're putting in, where essentially what you're looking for is found in the holy instant. And it's going to go into the importance of relationship. It's just a different spiritual path in a sense. I'm encouraging meditation, but also I'm saying this is going, I don't want to say deeper than meditation, but it's not just about sitting on the cushion and engaging those intense spiritual disciplines here. Okay. So it could take a very long time, but the course is working to save time, which means you're inevitably going to get there. You will experience atonement. You'll experience oneness. The course says, I thank you, God, for your guarantee of only happy outcomes. And you learn to surrender your whole life to God because you trust God knows how to do it better than me. And all you care about is putting your attention on the consciousness itself. So enormous effort is expended in the attempt to make holy what is hated and despised, which is very much your body and this world. You can't make the body and the world holy because it's not. It's an illusion. It's not what you're truly looking for. It's like, again, having false gods before you. Nor is a lifetime of contemplation and long periods of meditation aimed at detachment from the body necessary. All such attempts will ultimately succeed because of their purpose, meaning you intend to find God, you will. Yet the means are tedious and very time-consuming, for all of them look to the future for release from a state of present unworthiness and inadequacy. So when you're meditating and you're spending long hours and hours of meditation, you're thinking you're going to accomplish something eventually. There's a very powerful discussion that happens in Zen communities about, is enlightenment instant or does it take time? And on some level, it's both, right? We're going to do spiritual practice and achieve enlightenment. But enlightenment, when that happens, it happens in an instant. That's pure Zen practice. Enlightenment happens in the instant of now, and it essentially happens in the state of shikantaza when you're just sitting. When you're just sitting in Zen, you don't achieve Buddhahood. You realize you are Buddha. You don't have Buddha nature in Buddhism. You are Buddha nature. So another way of saying that is you are spirit. You don't become spiritual. You are spirit, right? You don't find, or you could say you don't find, you could say, I got to find my soul. You are your soul. Again, it's the eyeball looking for itself. Okay, so sitting in meditation, thinking in the future, someday I'll get it, it's just a misunderstanding of how you're going to find it. And it's talking about this sense of unworthiness and inadequacy because the psyche itself, you don't necessarily believe you actually deserve that. But what A Course in Miracles is going to do is help us to release that part of the mind that says, I'm not worthy of it. And in the holy instant, just go home. So remember the lesson, I will be still an instant and go home. The Course teaches that when you sit down and meditate, it doesn't matter how long you sit. Somebody could sit for hours and achieve nothing. Someone can sit for a minute and achieve everything. So the real question is not how long you're on the cushion, it's what you're doing internally while you're doing this. But the main thing is clearly stop and bring your body to stillness. If you want to call it meditation, sure. And also you will bring your mind to stillness, but this is talking about going to the state where your body and mind drop away. So your way, meaning a student of the course, will be different, not in purpose, but in means, meaning you don't have to do these long, arduous hours of meditation. It's the same purpose. We're working to know God, but we're doing it in a different way. It says here, so what is the way? A holy relationship is a means of saving time. So remember, the course is deeply rooted in relationships and the bringing special unhealed relationships into holy, sacred relationships. Because when you're not at peace, it pretty much always involves someone else. If you think about like what are your upsets, it's usually some interpersonal relationship, which is the grounds where miracles occur. Okay, so a holy relationship is a means of saving time. One instant spent together with your brother restores the universe to you both. So, as the Bible says, something like, when two or more are gathered in my name, I am there. And Paramahansa Yogananda, great yogi saint, he said, when two people come together to find truth together, it's easily found. Right? But when two people come together to argue and to duke it out, but when two people both have the intention, we want to know God together. So if you do live with someone, you have a partner like Stephen K there, so lovely. If you sit and meditate together and choose that peace, then the course is highly encouraging that this happens in a relationship. But not everybody's in that type of relationship. But remember, you're always in a relationship with everyone. So it doesn't really matter that the person's in the same room with you or not. In a non-dual universe, in a quantum entangled universe, in the idea that a non-local universe, that the course teaches minds are joined. And it teaches you can never lose what you love. You are in relationship with all of the sonship for eternity. So it doesn't matter if they're in the same physical space as your body or not. But in deep meditation, you can absolutely focus on another person, especially someone who's upsetting you. Okay, so yeah, if you can sit with someone in meditation, yeah, it's powerful. But at the same time, remember, even if you're, quote, alone, you can still think of other people and be connected to them. Okay, so our way is different. It's a path of relationship, and that saves time. One instant spent together with your brother or sister, another child of God, restores the universe to both of you. You are prepared. Now you need but to remember you need do nothing. It would be far more profitable now merely to concentrate on this than to consider what you should do. So, should we fight? No, do nothing. Should we talk it out? No, do nothing. It's when you're totally willing to surrender and do nothing that all of the, in Sanskrit, they're called chit vrittis, the waves of your mind, the fluctuation of consciousness, all your thoughts, all the upsets between you and them, essentially just do nothing. Because all of that is a big illusion, all that mind chatter. When it's clear, you and the other person are one in God, and there's only peace there, and that's never actually changed, right? The Course teaches while you're busy living your egoic life, your real life is continuing on totally unhindered. Right? Like all the peace and love between you and your brother or sister, meaning, another child of God, is still there. You're just in this nightmare with this person in your own mind or between your minds. But really, I need do nothing says, I'm just going to forgive and let all that go. A powerful Course in Miracles question, which I used in my book, Peace Under All Circumstances, is would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? In a relationship, who cares about being right? Right? The only intention you hold in a relationship, my partner and I were meditating last night, we're in a very deep space. And it was like that holy instant of being together. And we started like saying, let's share words from this deep space. And then it started getting into a little bit more head, a little bit more talk. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I just noticed we're talking a little much. I said, our only intention, though, is to be deeply rooted in oneness together. That's the intention that brings it back to I need do nothing. We don't need all these words and all this talk because all we want is to feel the deep oneness together, and that's already there. Okay, so it's really the intention that you're holding with yourself, with another. And again, they don't have to be in the same room because when you're aware of someone else, notice that your thoughts aren't always at peace. It's in connection with them when you forgive and see them as God created them that you could experience that oneness. That happens by really doing nothing. Okay. When peace comes at last to those who wrestle with temptation and fight against the giving into sin, when the light comes at last into the mind given to contemplation, or when the goal is finally achieved by anyone, it always comes with just one happy realization: I need do nothing. So when the light comes, it comes because you actually surrender and let go. But remember, it takes your willingness, your invitation. I don't want to be right. I don't want to talk this out. I don't want to fight this out. I just want the peace of God. The Course teaches, and again, this is all about just finding inner peace. If you want inner peace, it's available for you, but you must want it truly. So ask yourself, is your highest and only intention in a relationship, again, whether they're in the room with you or not, is the only intention perfect peace for you and for them? If you're not offering it to them, you can't have it for yourself. The Course teaches to have peace, teach peace. To have love, give love. If you're not giving peace and love to everyone, then your teaching is of the ego, not of spirit. Spirit only extends love. Remember, the miracle shifts us back into spirit where we extend love. That's natural. That's the natural calling for the children of God to extend the kingdom. It is a doing nothing because it's not an action, it's a being, right? Your being keeps extending or co-creating with God. It really is effortless in that sense. Here is the ultimate release, which everyone will one day find in his own way, at his own time. You need you do not need this time. Okay, so remember, in A Course in Miracles, the outcome of what we're talking about, your profound peace, is inevitable and it's not bound by time, it's bound by invitation, right? So it's, I want the peace of God, is one of the Course in Miracles lessons. You just keep affirming that. And the Course teaches something like, at first, in its idea to be considered, then its idea maybe to be taken somewhat seriously, then its idea to be considered as, maybe that's possible. It's an idea that could be achieved. And eventually there's the attainment. I don't remember those exact stages, but it's essentially, that's possible. Could I have the peace of God now? Just keep affirming, I want the peace of God. And when other thoughts come in, okay, I hear you, but I want the peace of God. The other thoughts aren't suppressed, they're forgiven, meaning you let them go. I'm not attending to them. Remember, the higher court always overrules the lower court's decision here. The ego has something to say. I hear you. I want the peace of God. I'm just not concerned with it. So when you pull up to the higher self, you're just saying to that egoic mind, not interested. It doesn't matter what you're saying. Paramahansa Yogananda said, an ignored guest shortly leaves. If you get somebody in your house making a mess out of things and they're trying to get your attention, just ignore them. It is one of the most profound ways, even in like deep yogic teachings. And Fred, I think, is here, who quoted Mayor Baba for us not long ago. Mayor Baba talks about how, great saint, if you haven't checked him out yet, Mayor Baba talked about how to unwind sanskars or blockages, essentially. And he talked about 5 ways to do it, but one primary way is the state we're talking about here, the state of deep meditation, the state of samadhi, where you stop putting your attention on the lower self, basically. You just keep putting your attention on the higher self. That essentially is a I do nothing because you are that self. So it doesn't really require an action. It just requires a surrender to the holy instant. So therefore, time has nothing to do with this equation. You're going to get there anyway, but the course is helping us to get there quicker. It's helping to collapse time. So it says, here is the ultimate release, which everyone will one day find in his own way at his own time. You do not need this time. Time has been saved for you because you and your brother are together. This is the special means this course is using to save you time. So the special means used to save you time is a holy relationship. And again, you might think that means you must have a significant other, and that's beautiful. But again, every relationship can be brought to holiness in your mind. So even your ex-spouse who might hate you in your mind is still seen as a perfect child of God, and you're only sending love and light to them. It's in that relationship, whether you ever talk to them again or not during this lifetime, doesn't matter. In your mind, that person is not a person. They're a child of God like everyone else. We're all one in that space. This special, this is the special means this course is using to save you time. You are not making use of the course if you insist on using means which have served others well, neglecting what was made for you. So the other means would be a lot of the other spiritual disciplines. And that's all great. The Course says they'll get you there. But what was made for you in A Course in Miracles is the plan for the atonement. It was there before this book ever existed. The moment that we, the separated sons of God, as the Course says, the moment you took the detour into fear, the moment you went on the long guilt trip, the moment you left the kingdom, apparently, the atonement principle is set in place. Meaning, the moment God saw that you were now miserable, that you took a detour into fear, that you started thinking you're not who you were, the solution was instantly given and achieved. But the Course does talk about how what happened 2,000 years ago with Jesus, and I'm not going to go too into that because I don't like to be overly Jesus and Christian here, but the Course really does have a strong place for acknowledging that something happened there. That one person, let's just say it this way, one person at that moment completely accepted the atonement for himself. Once someone did, and the Course says Christ was basically the one who first did that. You may or may not believe that. I still contemplate that myself. But the Course says the moment he accepted that idea was now available to all of us. The idea that there is no death. The idea that resurrection, meaning the return to eternal life, is there. So once the idea, the atonement principle is already there, but once one of us accepted it as possible, it became possible for all of us because minds are joined. So what this is saying, and technically the one who gave us this course is claiming to be Christ, he's saying those who are students of the course, there's a different way for you. It's a way where you accept the atonement for yourself. It's similar to when Christians say, I believe in Christ and that's all I have to do. I don't have to meditate. I only have to believe. The course is a little bit deeper than that in a sense, but it's really saying, remember the one thing, it's to be in the kingdom is to put your attention on it. But remember, the kingdom is the sonship, and that's the collective oneness of all of us. So if you feel separate from one other child of God, you will feel separate from that. The Course's means to get there is forgiveness in relationships, not long, arduous spiritual discipline where secretly in your heart you still hate someone else. You can meditate for 20 years, but if you still hate your dad, you're not going anywhere. The moment you truly forgive your dad and see him as another perfect child of God, who's not your dad, it's just another brother and sister and child of God. If once you see only that, you're seeing as God sees, you've taken a quantum leap that saves you lifetimes. The Course teaches it could literally take millions of years for all of us to get the atonement, but miracles collapse time. And not to go too into miracles tonight, but simply saying every time you forgive and you let go of a pattern that you were doing in your mind and you shift, remember, miracles are sudden shifts into invisibility. When you just say, I don't care what I've been saying about my dad all this time, I completely forgive that. I just want the peace of God. and then you see your oneness with your dad, who's just another beautiful being of light and love, that light and love merge, you're one with God. It happens in the holy instant in a relationship that you allowed to be holy. Because again, you could do yoga every day for 2 hours and be the most flexible person in the world, and yet you still hate your dad, and it doesn't matter that you can stand on your head and cross into lotus pose. I used to be able to do that, but it doesn't necessarily give you the profound peace that this is encouraging. Okay, it says, so this was made for you. This course, this plan for salvation was made for you, which means it's pretty easy because God is not cruel. God's plan for salvation doesn't require an intense burning. I say that because in yogic practice, we have a term called tapasya. Tapasya or tapasaya, but I think it's more properly pronounced tapasya. Tapasya is often translated as a yogi sitting and burning through their blockages. And it's like, all right, I'm angry. I'm just going to sit in meditation and burn through it, and the inner energy will burn my blockage away. That works. There's totally truth in that model. My dear teacher in India, he said, tapasya is not to burn and suffer in meditation. It's that the yogi holds one thought in his or her mind that makes them happy. Tapasya is simply to get to the place where you can hold one thought that makes you happy. So when you say, I want the peace of God, all of your little egoic inner children in there start having a hissy fit, right? But I don't want to be at peace. I'm upset. I'm angry. I want the peace of God. Remember, the higher court is always going to rule over the lower court. You're not trying to do intense spiritual discipline while there's still this internal upset. You're basically doing a sudden shift into invisibility. I forgive and release that. I want to know that person as God created them and who I am. I want the relationship that was upsetting me to be holy. In that holy instant, you take that shift into invisibility where body and mind can actually drop away. But while you still think he's a body and I'm mad at him and I'm a body and he hurt me, you're suffering from level confusion, which the Course teaches is the cause of all illness. Remember, peace is health. All external searching, especially this form of attack, is the cause of illness and suffering. Save time for me by only this one preparation. So you could determine who's saying me here. But those who read the course are like, oh, okay, that's Christ. So that's technically who's speaking here, if you believe that. Save time for me by only this one preparation and practice doing nothing else. I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, right? Meaning I want spirit, I want self-realization, I want enlightenment, I want inner peace more than anything else. And I'm aligned with any voice that is encouraging me to go there. The Course teaches any voice that works to save you of all pain and suffering would be worth listening to. Right? So that's the voice who's using the word me here, saying, I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance to a teacher. In A Course in Miracles, Christ is considered an equal. He is a child of God like you. He's not God and you're something less. He's part of the sonship, but he does say he's an elder brother who is entitled to devotion because he's devoted. Because he's devoted to you, it serves you to be devoted to these teachings. Again, I'm not formally Christian. I've just realized the great saints, and put Christ in that category, have a profound teaching. And it's saying have allegiance to those profound teachings. It doesn't mean you have to put on a cross necessarily, but the Course does talk about the crucifixion, if you ever care to dive into that section. Um, okay, I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Remember, your only purpose is accept the atonement for yourself, and you have a function to fulfill that God gave you. You didn't create the plan for salvation, God did. And it's a plan that's not difficult to be part of. So undivided loyalty is saying, I'm part of the great crusade to eliminate all error. That's A Course in Miracles. You become part of the great crusade to eliminate all error. And where does that start? Inside of you. And remember, sin is just error in A Course in Miracles. I'm working to clear all errors from my mind, but I'm not responsible to do that on my own. The Holy Spirit will do that if I let him. I choose to let him by allowing him to decide for God for me. Right? It's allegiance to that. And really only that. I need do nothing. I only care about that. The great Saint Ramakrishna, he said, the more you prioritize God, the more God takes away your other responsibilities. So yeah, we are talking joking today. Today was a busy day for me, graduating class. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, the whole day is about I need to do nothing. All I'm doing is teaching people to meditate on God. Um, The more you do that and the more you teach that, spirit uses you in the highest way that it can use you. So if the most you can do, um, I don't know, I don't want to judge any person with any example here, but if the most you can do is just, I don't know, shoot, oh yeah, okay, we got the whole mass shooting thing. If that's the best you can come up with to go and take a gun and shoot a whole lot of people, how can spirit use you in any higher way? But the moment you can vibrate at a significantly higher rate to extend light and love, your whole life changes, your actions change, your career changes, the people you attract change. The Course teaches that when you step up to do your part in the plan for salvation, which is required, your students are waiting for you, and you will be the right teacher for them. Not for everybody, but your message and the way you present it will be right for others. It's impossible not to teach in A Course in Miracles. You're always teaching. The question is, are you teaching fear or love? If you're in fear, you're in your ego, you think you're a body. In the holy instant, I need do nothing, you shift to I am peace, I am love, and I teach only peace and love. You don't have to think about how your life will unfold when you do that. It's like you've turned 30 degrees this way, you walk for 100 miles in fear and negativity, you're going to be in a very different place than if you shift just 30 degrees this way, walk for 100 miles in a space of love and kindness and compassion. When you align your mind with that, your career lines up, your relationships line up, everything harmonizes, and all you do is surrender. The Course in Miracles lessons end by simply saying, I need do nothing. I will step back and let God lead the way. I put the future in the hands of God. Fear is unjustified in any form, right? So it's the more we surrender and be still and be quiet and keep choosing peace in every relationship and every thought that comes in your mind, everything else falls into place. All right. And based on law of attraction, you don't have to start trying to create and manifest a beautiful life. Vibrate at the highest level you can, and everything around you falls into place. Those are the deep teachings of surrender, or I need do nothing. Okay, let's finish up this, then go to some Q&A or just discussion. It says, believe it for just, so it says, and you do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Believe it for just one instant, and you will accomplish more than is given to a century of contemplation or to a struggle against temptation. A struggle against temptation is any part of your mind that has some external idea, like I want to turn to drugs, I want to turn to sex, I want to go kill someone, like whatever the mind is doing. You don't struggle against it. You literally forgive it. You release it. You transcend it. You say, I want the peace of God. You're not suppressing this thing. You're basically just kind of ignoring it. You're saying, I'm not attending to you anymore. You're insane. I want the peace of God. I choose to forgive and let that go. I'm not coming from lower self-attack thoughts. I'm coming from higher self thoughts of perfect peace. Okay, so again, it's an instant shift. It's not a long struggle or continuous long-term contemplation. To do anything involves the body. So take that in. I need do nothing is because to do involves the body. To do anything involves the body. And if you recognize you need do nothing, you have withdrawn the body's value from your mind. So remember, we talked about in A Course in Miracles, sorting out the real from the unreal, truth from illusion. The body's in the realm of illusion. It's in the realm of valueless in A Course in Miracles. But you might say, well, is there any value? In A Course in Miracles, the only value to the body is the Holy Spirit's using it as a communication device. So the separated sons of God, in A Course in Miracles, to use that term, cannot hear the voice for God right now, right? They're lost, they're busy out there, they're not listening to Source. That's where the Course created the plan for the teachers. And this is very much A Course in Miracles idea. The plan for the teachers is part of the plan for salvation. God needs your voice to communicate to others. So if you, let's say you right now, can't hear these teachings, you hear them through a teacher of God, a teacher of love, someone who's willing to speak these thoughts out loud. The Course says that's the only value of the body because the Holy Spirit only cares about the plan for salvation. It doesn't have any other agenda. It's just working to bring us all back into perfect peace. It will utilize every situation and every thought and everything you did, including all the crap that we make up. It'll utilize everything to bring us back to source. But essentially, it's saying there's no value to the body unless the body is used as a communication device to for the plan for salvation. If not, there's no value in this temporary thing. Christ in the Course of Miracles says, I do not care to share my body with you. Which is a very interesting idea, right? As far as like we're always trying to find union through bodies, like through sex and through coming together with other people. The Course teaches the sense of revelation that we're all seeking, that oneness with God can never be achieved through physical closeness. What you're truly looking for is not in another person's body, it's in the very peace of your own soul. And then you share that with other children of God. And yeah, you might have a significant other, but all relationships become holy, not individual special relationships. Okay, so we're wrapping up this section. It says, to do anything involves the body, and if you recognize you need do nothing, you have withdrawn the body's value from your mind. Again, there's no value to the body for spirit. Here is the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time. This is the way in which sin loses all attraction now. And again, sin, just erroneous external actions. For here is time denied and past and future gone. Who needs do nothing has no need for time. To do nothing is to rest. One of the Course in Miracles lessons is I rest in God. So you can use that as an affirmation meditation. I rest in God. Right? To do nothing is to rest and make a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. So most of us, of course, believe that sleep gives us rest. The Course teaches no, you're actually incapable of being tired, but you make yourself exceptionally weary through so much judgment. But it says it's not sleep that gives you rest, it's awakening that gives you rest. I used to take like afternoon naps so I'd fall asleep. Now I'll just spend hours in meditation in the afternoon, usually morning and evening, but definitely hours, usually most afternoons. And I don't sleep anymore. I just go into the state we're talking about, essentially into samadhi, into deep meditation. And that resets the body's nervous system. That's what's far more healing than actually remember the four states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Deep sleep is not necessarily as refreshing as a deep plunge into God. So the Course teaches are incapable of being truly tired because you're pure light. Light and energy. Light energy doesn't get tired. You are pure energy. It says, but you make yourself exceptionally weary through so much judgment, but rather it's inspiration. Like you feel dejected through all the judgment. You feel, I think that's the word the Course uses, something like, you bring yourself down through all those negative thoughts. But inspired thinking actually motivates action and it increases your sense of energy. So rest in A Course in Miracles happens by resting in God, not being asleep. The Course says referring to the Bible, it says the Bible says a deep sleep fell upon Adam, but nowhere in the Bible does it speak of the collective awakening. The Bible is the detour into fear. It's the whole story of the ego's nightmare, essentially. That nightmare starts with, quote, Adam and Eve, children of God, going on a journey to feel separate from God, to restore us to wholeness. That's the plan for the atonement. And really, all you have to do is rest in God. And again, the deep sleep that fell upon Adam is not restored through more sleep. It's restored through awakening. One sec, Esme, I'm going to finish this and let's go to Q&A and discussion. This is the way in which sin loses attraction right now, for here is time denied and past and future gone. Who needs do nothing has no need for time. To do nothing is to rest and make a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. Into this place the Holy Spirit comes and there abides. When you're still, Spirit can enter with your invitation. He will remain when you forget and the body's activities return to occupy your conscious mind. While you're engaging in your everyday life after you come out of this kind of meditative state, Spirit is right there, still orchestrating everything. You step back, you let Him lead the way. Yet there always be this place to rest to which you can return. You will, and you will be more aware of this quiet center, which was Lily was talking about in the beginning, right? Lily said something just like quiet center. And you will be more aware of this quiet center of the storm than all its raging activity. This quiet center in which you do nothing will remain with you, giving you rest in the midst of every busy doing on which you are sent. Doings on which you are sent. But remember, avoid useless journeys, right? If you're like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What vacation should I take? Your ego's just making stuff up. Spirit's like, just sit still and rest. It'd be much more healing for you. You're trying to go to another country to find God? Just sit still. It's right here. Right. So again, useless journeys. The quiet center that helps you to get out of the raging activity. And while you're busy doing, you're doing what you're sent to do. Remember, the Course teaches a messenger doesn't choose his or her own messages, right? God gives you a purpose and you have something to teach, something to bring to the world, and only you can do your part in the plan for salvation. So you're doing what you're sent to do, not what your ego is making up you think you should do. For from the center will you be directed how to use the body sinlessly, meaning no suffering, no pain. It is this center from which the body is absent that will keep it so in your awareness of it. So in yogic practice, we just talk about witness consciousness. You're sitting in the seat of the soul and you're just watching life unfold. But what's motivating you or the revelations coming from spirit. When spirit gives you, Emily, who's here, had this beautiful experience in meditation this morning. I guided everyone for like an hour, and I was encouraging. It's not just going to the bliss of God. It's kind of getting those downloads of who are you? What is your purpose? What is your mission? And then she wrote down like a whole piece of paper of stuff that came in. That's what you live your life by. Our school's life mastery course is completely about that. You don't just make stuff up to put into a life mastery course. You get the downloads from God and then you write them down and you're like, okay, that's my mission. I'm clear. That's what I'm doing. And then remember, you do nothing else. Okay, it's been an hour and a half, but I'm willing to go longer. Of course, if anybody wants to leave, you're welcome to. But yeah, thank you all for being here. But yeah, let's definitely open up to discussion. Esne?
Yeah. Hey,
Hey again.
yeah, that was that. Hey again. Yes. Rebonjour.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, all it was really, really interesting lecture, Matthew. My question is, it's more of an inquiry, I guess, more like a questioning, not, just a wondering. What is the role of earthly pleasure? Like you're saying there's no value in the body and so
Mhm.
what is the value of the earthly delights, the earthly, I guess, are those, how is that seen, at least from the view of Course in Miracles?
Yeah, I don't think the course puts much value in it. There's really no paragraph or lesson I could think of that encourages you to have pleasures. I'll just kind of speak personally a little bit. I have found that the human system is rewarded for pleasure, and basically pain is telling you, nah, not so good. So the course does teach that most of us have confused pleasure and pain. But because we think we're a body, we're trying to do what makes the body feel good. The problem is that doesn't always work. The real pleasure is doing God's will and knowing God. That's the real pleasure the Course is speaking of, the peace, bliss, love, and joy. But then there's, sexual pleasure or just enjoying some good food or something. The Course essentially is teaching that everything that you do should be done in the service of God. So if you're making love with your partner, you're working out some beautiful experience of pleasure, you're turning it into a holy relationship. But if the pleasure is used to create a special relationship of, you need to give me pleasure because I never get enough flowers and you never touch me the way I want to be touched, that's all the ego getting involved in pleasure. The Holy Spirit will use anything that you made up in any relationship you're in and anything you're doing alone or with others. It'll utilize everything for your own undoing. So my experience of I want to unpack too much in this moment. There's so much to say about this. But when I go into deep meditation and in the Arahant meditation system, it definitely acknowledges the pleasure and especially the sexual energy that's there. But I can tell you when I'm exploring my sexuality, when I'm in meditation and being with the bliss and the pleasure of that, it's always done with God. It's always why does that turn me on? Okay. God, let's be with that. Let's talk about that. Let's explore that. So I don't think the course necessarily says anything about utilizing pleasure, but it's going to say utilize everything for the plan for salvation to be deeper, more closely intimate with the divine, right? That if you're sitting down to enjoy a meal and that's pleasurable, right? How is that moment given to the Holy Spirit in the holy instant? It's really not about a temporary fleeting pleasure, but it is about sanctifying every moment, giving it to the divine, and really never acting. So, pleasure with the body involves action. Never acting without consulting with source first. And that doesn't mean you have to stop every time you move your hand and ask God. It specifically says that would be impractical and not possible. But let's just say for some of the bigger things that we're doing, like, all right, tonight we're going to go out for dinner, and then we're going to go to the movie, and then we're going to come home and something nice will hopefully happen. Um, if all of if like as much as you can you're letting spirit guide that, my experience is it's pretty much always pleasurable. It doesn't God doesn't lead you to pain and suffering. God's will for you is your greatest joy. So it's not that pleasure is a means to an end. It's just whatever you're doing is given to God, and that tends to make every moment of your life exceptionally beautiful. The course teaches to eventually get us to a place where every day is just grace and bliss and peace and harmony. That's not toxic positivity. It's a promise of God of saying your life can be phenomenal. So it's not really putting the body first and its pleasures first. It's putting God first and letting God motivate your actions. And my experience is that tends like I'll tell you, honestly, like the only deeper pleasure than the bliss of God in meditation is to welcome the sexual energy into the experience. And Anahat meditation, you could check out at onlinemonastery.com, really works to bring that into the experience. So I'm absolutely much more all about pleasure than about pain, of course. And yeah, embracing the sexual energy or all pleasure in the spiritual experience, but always letting God guide the actions that do tend to always lead to much more pleasure and bliss. I've never found in deep meditation that the thing that most was arousing and most pleasurable for me was in disharmony with God. It's actually perfectly in harmony with God. Because who you are, what makes you feel good, is who you are and what makes you feel good, not as a body, but again, it's like this alignment through the whole chakra system of God is bliss. My mind thinks blissful thoughts. My heart is open to bliss. My body is feeling nothing but health and pleasure. So, does that help? Here, Mike.
Yeah, it really does. I think, when you have that connection, then it it's almost obvious. But then of course, if you don't have the connection, it can be confusing because there's so many things that can be perceived as pleasurable, which
Mhm.
in reality are not really
Yeah.
for your highest best.
The
Yeah. So
confusion of pleasure and pain
yeah.
that the course
Mhm.
talks about. Yeah. You think smoking cigarettes is pleasurable. You've confused pleasure and pain. You think out, remember the first time you drank vodka? That was not pleasurable. You have to kind of convince yourself that hard liquor is pleasurable for you. You've confused pleasure and pain. Getting drunk and hungover, at least from my experience, is not truly pleasurable. So yeah, most people have confused pleasure and pain because we're living from the ego. We believe in attack. We believe in external searching. We do, whether we know it or not, we value sickness and disharmony. That's just the insane ego. When you're back into sanity, my experience is everything is pleasurable and beautiful. Think about walking into a movie theater. The cushions on the left have needles and pins in them, and the ones on the right are pure comfy velvet. And if you ask spirit, where should I sit? What would be the wisest place? It's never going to tell you to go sit on those needles. Only the insane ego would do that, thinking that you deserve punishment and you're not worthy of pleasure, and hitting yourself in the head with a hammer while you're sitting in the needle-filled seats. That's just the insanity of the ego, and it does confuse pleasure and pain. Spirit never leads you into pain and suffering. Thanks, Esme. Tammy.
Hi. So this is my first time here.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm suffering. I'm in a toxic marriage for over 30 years, abusive mentally, physically. I lost my son 4 years ago. My husband's very controlling. He's an alcoholic. Um, and you say to forgive and not to judge,
Hmm.
but it's putting me in a hateful anger state where I'm in such a low place
Hmm.
that I don't know what to do, where to begin, or how to find the peace.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Tammy. On one level, of course, I'm very sorry to hear about the pain that you're going through and the loss that you just experienced. I believe what's most important, maybe to take away from the class, is that one statement: I want the peace of God. So don't deny that you have hatred. Don't deny that you feel anger. Don't deny that you're afraid and that you're in a low place. Just literally in that place, the Course is saying that spirit, which is the answer to the problem, and it really is. I mean, it's going to seem like you have to go through time to get out of it, but the moment you say sincerely, really, really, like right now, in this very moment, remember, minds are joined in A Course in Miracles, and we're talking about a holy relationship. That doesn't just mean between you and your husband, because you're angry with him, but like with me right now, I want for you the peace of God. Share that thought with me. You want for you the peace of God. That's a huge part of it. The next thing is I invite that into my awareness. I'm inviting love and light in. Remember, in Course in Miracles, the only problem, I mean, you have your specific problem, but the only problem in A Course in Miracles is separation. The solution, always, no matter what the problem is oneness. Oneness with what? Oneness with your source right here now. Forgiveness is the means to do that. But instead of thinking you should forgive, which the ego struggles with a lot, right? No, he hurt me. He's like this. He's abusive. It's not forgiving his behaviors. The behaviors are unacceptable. There's a lot, of teaching there, as far as like assertiveness, but essentially, I would encourage you to do A Course in Miracles workbook lessons. It takes time, it takes a whole year,
Okay.
but you got to start from where you are. And a 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step. So it's basically, I want the peace of God. I'm welcoming the peace of God in. I'm not going to just think the word forgiveness because I should forgive. I'm going to learn the process that helps me to truly get what forgiveness is so I can get free of all this. And A Course in Miracles workbook lessons, just literally read the introduction to the workbook lessons, start on lesson 1. It'll take a year. It'll be one of the most powerful and horrible years of your life, possibly. But one of the lessons is I thank you, God, for your guarantee of only happy outcomes. So I lovingly respect your challenging situation, yet A Course in Miracles, my experience is it's the answer to whatever the specific challenge is. So does that help a little bit there, Tammy?
Yeah, it helps a little bit. I just struggle with forgiving and just not
Sure.
having that anger. I
Yeah,
don't want to have that anger.
for sure. Well,
But he does something every
mhm,
day. It's one thing or another. One day he's
yeah,
telling my kids I'm starting trouble, and so it's just
mhm,
like it's a roller coaster of
sure.
these emotions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you're not meditating yet, I highly recommend take 5 minutes in the morning. And the Course teaches exactly this. Start the day with God. If you, in Zen, we say, when the first thought begins with enlightenment, all subsequent thoughts do. When the first thought begins with illusion, all subsequent thoughts do. So when you start the day, start with that profound, powerful intention, which says, like, sit with the workbook lesson. What I do every morning, pretty much the moment I wake up, I grab my phone, I open the browser, and I turn to the next workbook lesson, and I read it, and I'll lie in bed contemplating it. Once I decide to get up out of bed when it feels harmonious, I'll go into the meditation room and I'll sit for at least 5 minutes, usually longer. But sometimes like, all right, got stuff to do for the day, but 5 minutes on the cushion, you dedicate and you give the day to God and you use that lesson. So throughout the day while you're struggling, work with the Course in Miracles lesson. So let's say one of them is and you do not actually that's not one of the lessons. Not I need do nothing, but like I rest in God. So throughout the day, like God, I hate him, I'm so angry with him. Okay, that's there. You're not denying that's there. At the same time, you're bringing in some higher thinking, the thoughts you think with God. I rest in God. Or like the first lesson is nothing I see means anything. So let's start with that. That's the first lesson. Nothing I see means anything. But he said that, and that means I'm a bad mother. Nothing I see means anything. You utilize the Course in Miracles workbook lesson as a thought that will unravel everything you're doing inside. But I'm not going to tell you, well, you should forgive him. You wouldn't be able to do that right now that easily. But every lesson helps transform what you're doing in your own mind to bring you to perfect peace. I guarantee your external world will change. And what the Course does speak about, and I've seen this for our students in our school for sure, is you start vibrating at a higher level. This is a teaching from Taoism. I learned this in Chinese medical school. Yin and yang, male and female, need to harmonize. But when yin, the woman, usually starts vibrating at a higher level, you're choosing love, you're choosing peace, you're choosing to learn true forgiveness. The more you do that, one of two things have to happen in metaphysical law. Either yin and yang are going to harmonize, meaning he's going to catch up to you and he's going to vibrate there, or yin and yang separate. The Course basically, and all the spiritual traditions talk about a dropping away of external things that no longer serve you anymore. So I'm not encouraging separation or divorce or anything. I'm just speaking about deep metaphysical principles that say when you let me say it this way. When you choose only love, the Course says you become increasingly intolerant to anything else. I'm not willing to have a single upset at all during a whole day. I mean, somebody could do something. I have students and staff. I get people's upsets all the time, but me in
Yeah,
my heart, I'm never willing to be upset. And it's not that I'm suppressing the anger. It's that this is a very specific course that takes a year to go through all the lessons that will transform your mind into such peace. You'll be so increasingly intolerant of it that it just won't be able to last in your life. Something will have to change. But I'd give yourself a good year of doing the lessons to see what that result will look like. And the Course says when you start those lessons, don't think you know what the end result will be. You have to surrender that to God. But something will shift in this if you do these lessons because the outside world you're experiencing is a reflection of the inside world. When the inside truly changes, which is a process, the outside definitely will change.
that makes sense.
Does that help? Great. I would also
Yes.
highly recommend, where my whole thing is hypnotherapy, not Chinese medicine. And like, I really went into, that's my background, but I went into the field of hypnotherapy because I realized we can help, like, honestly, I'm not trying to promote sessions. I'm not seeing really many clients at all these days, but I can tell you if you work with me or one of my high level graduates, we could help
Uh-huh.
you to make those changes in a very, very short period of time. So I don't know actually which Tammy you are and if you're part of our school or anything, but I can tell you 5 hypnotherapy sessions can change your life. So that's
Okay.
a really good answer. Yeah. And you
Do
can always,
you
Thank you
anybody,
mind?
so.
Do
I'm
you
sorry, go
mind
ahead.
if
Thank
I
you.
jumped in here?
Oh, please. I love the
Okay.
discussion.
I'm a psychotherapist. I've been in practice for quite a while, and I just heard you basically invalidate Tammy's experience
Hmm,
and who she is as a person.
hmm,
And if I did that, I would lose my license.
hmm,
I think people are real. I think their experiences are real. I think the world is real. Maybe it's a revelation of God, but it's not some crazy non-entity in the ego or some quantum metaphysical nothingness. There's real people with real pain that deserve real attention. And that's kind of why I have problems with this Course in Miracles, which throws in God and Christ, and that's supposed to have something to do with Buddhism and Turiya and Shikantaza and non-conceptualization when it's full of conceptualizations. It's just a crazy mess to me that I wonder if it's not going to hurt people in the end.
hmm. Fair enough. Thank you sincerely for sharing. First, on the level of validating, I sincerely respect what you said. I honor Tammy's pain. I think I did say, like, I hear and I'm sorry for what
Yes, you
you're going
did.
through. I'm also, so yeah, I honor, like, you lost a child. I hear you there. I'm not saying you don't feel that pain. Like, I feel for that. I have like deep compassion in my heart for what Tammy's saying, and I honor that. I'm also teaching Course in Miracles. And I'm telling you what A Course in Miracles says. So, Fred, you don't have to agree with that, but you keep showing up to the class for some reason. So, I'm only teaching what I believe is in A Course in Miracles. And honestly, I don't feel like I'm not validating her experience. I'm saying there is a way out of that pain and suffering. So, really, I'm offering a solution. While I'm honoring, yes, you're going through that now. It can take some time to get out of it, but there is a way out. Right. So
Yeah.
I guess the question would be, what's the most practical thing we could do here is honor your pain and then give you the answer you're looking for, which is there is another way out of this. And it's not overly conceptual. It's literally, I started by saying, I hear you, feel the pain. Don't deny that you're angry. I didn't deny her pain there, Fred. I said, while letting that be there, say, I want the peace of God. Only because that's what A Course in Miracles teaches. If we were here in some other class, with some other structure, I'm teaching that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess my question lovingly to you, Fred, would be, why do you keep showing up if you totally disagree with the course?
Well, I think like you, I have a master's in philosophy as well as a
Mm,
master's of social work and another master's. And
mm,
I'm very interested in how psychology and philosophy sort of feed each other.
Hmm.
And, through that, I see how, complicated interpretations can become. So I'm, kind of versed in Plato, Plotinus, many of the modern theories, as well as Buddhism. And it's not just a one size fits all, it's only this kind of thing.
Hmm.
This is a very complicated way to think about the world, the universe. Uh, and so I don't find, so I just see the complications of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I hear you. And yet you're still showing up for some reason. I saw that too when I started A Course in Miracles. And my background is largely Zen, very much yoga, but Zen. And Zen I love because it works to get beyond the concepts, like you said, right? Like just sit. Zen says when it gets down to shikantaza, just sit. And I'm like, why do I need a 1,000-page book? I'm like, what is the book teaching in its essence? Well, the book's teaching love. Well, why do I need 1,000 pages to talk about love? It's actually if I can say so myself, a profound psychology that's helping to unravel this mind that causes pain and suffering to lead us into profound peace. But also, I would definitely say this is a Course in Miracles class. So I personally agree with the Course in Miracles. But Fred, if you don't, that's okay. The Course teaches that this is only one of many different paths to source and that it's not for everybody. But because it's a Course in Miracles class, I can't say that I disagree with it or I wouldn't be teaching it. The Course says the world is unreal. Fred, you say the world is real, but therefore one of those perspectives has to be wrong. I always default to A Course in Miracles instead of my own thinking. And I leave that up to everybody here to think about, are you right because you have your education in philosophy and religion, which I do. I used to think I knew better than A Course in Miracles. But honestly, and I say this lovingly, Fred, for myself, I humbled myself to realize I think this book is wiser than me. Eventually, I personally came to the conclusion it is. So if I disagree, when I disagreed with this book, which I did, I had to ask myself, is the teaching here correct or am I correct just because I have, background in philosophy and religion? I've come to realize I believe what the book is saying. But if you don't, that's okay. I'm still glad you're showing up. I appreciate you sharing. Tammy, your hand is still up. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm going to get the workbook.
Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Beautiful. The course says this is not a course in theological speculation. It's an extremely practical course to bring you back to inner peace. So this is why when Fred mentioned, like, well, what about Platonic thought and Aristotelian thought? Like, you give me a whole list of all these different things. I'm like, well, this is a Course in Miracles class. We're not really going into all the other theories, but this is a teaching that if you do the lessons, you will find inner peace. None of the philosophy matters. What matters is that you find deep peace in your heart. That's what you're asking for, Tammy, and I hear your pain. I do validate and honor the pain. And I'm also acknowledging, spend a year, give the whole year to God. Trust in these lessons. The Course says, actually, in the beginning of the lessons, to Fred's, not believing in everything that's here, the Course says you don't have to believe in what's in this teaching. You do not have to believe in the lessons. You might even be, the Course says, you might even be openly antagonistic about the lessons, but do them anyway. Your belief will not change the efficacy of the practice. So yeah, it's a very practical course. And Tammy, I definitely encourage you to get into it because after a year, your life could be very different, which is I know what you're asking for. So thank you. And thank you, Fred. Esme, was there anything else? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that to the person who just made the comment, the psychotherapist, I'm sorry, I missed your name. I was just gonna say that uh I think these are really very advanced teachings. And that if you come from a place of extreme trauma, which possibly that could be the client type that you're seeing, it may not be the tool for them, right? At that time. Because if you're in an abusive relationship, you might have to pack your bags and get out.
Mhm.
Meditation isn't the answer in that moment, right? So it may not be the teaching for them in that moment, but at least from my perspective, once you pass that stage, Course in Miracles is just highly evolved,
Mhm.
and and at least I think there's a lot of truth, but it of course it has to speak to you for where you're at that time.
Mhm.
and just honoring that there are tools for different people at different stages of their journey. There you go.
For sure. Beautiful. Thank you. And the lessons are so gentle in the way that they start that it's meant to not get your mind fighting with the system. It's just, here's one simple thought for the day. And all you have to do is think it once. And it's such a profound wisdom. And yeah, as they saying, like the text, what we read from the text tonight, that's really deep. But the lessons actually are simply as simple as just saying, nothing I see means anything. And then you contemplate that all day. This chair doesn't mean anything. And then the next lesson, I've given everything all the meaning I have. And then you start realizing, oh, that's true, right? The fact that like, he didn't give me flowers, that means I'm a bad mom. Hey, I made that up in my mind. Right? That's not what's happening out there. I gave that meaning. It's profound, but it's so wise that it very gradually paces you out of egoic suffering into profound peace. And again, it doesn't matter what you believe philosophically. That's the end result, right? The course is, remember when Fred, we were saying, the course teaches a universal theology is impossible. We'll never all agree on one point of view, one philosophy, but the course says a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. So the course is about a universal experience, and that universal experience is peace. And the question is, can we have that or not? I'm on the side that yes, we could all have that. And the course teaches be ever vigilant for that, right? So that's largely why I teach this is I've realized when all of us are choosing peace, it's going to make a big impact in our world, right? And that's what it comes down to, the practical nature of that. But thank you, Tammy, Fred, Esne. Any other sharing or questions? Krishna said, the bewildered spirit soul under the influence of the three modes of material nature thinks, which are the gunas, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Thank you. Quoting the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, given to us by Krishna. The person who said that is named Krishna, and the voice speaking in the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna. And so, yes, beautiful. So you're really talking about it's the false ego that believes it's the doer. And the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is essentially surrender the fruits of your actions to God and let God lead the way. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is driving the chariot, not Arjuna, right? You're letting God run your life, not your ego. And that's very much what A Course in Miracles is saying. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who shared. So yeah, we'll be on next week, even if I don't send a reminder email. Next week, we'll talk about A Course in Miracles teaching on the guiltless world. All right, cool. Thank you all. Many blessings. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see those who are here next week. Good night, all. And those who are
Good night. Thank
tomorrow
you.
night, I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.